Fellow Toastmasters, please welcome Advanced Communicator Bronze, Advanced Leader Bronze, Josephine Hanan.
How many of you want to be the best leaders?
Yeah.
Good. How many of you want to leave a legacy?
Woo.
Even better than Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and always welcome guest, you are in the right place. My name is Josephine Hanan, and welcome to Jobs Come and Go, but your leadership skills are forever. Thank you for being here. I know all of you have busy schedules, and some people right now are taking their Sunday siestas, I could see by the people in the room. But not you. You are leaders who are up to such big things that you can't afford to sleep through your life. And I promise to teach you how to leverage your energy that surpasses most people already to forever leave your mark in Toastmasters and in any organization that you become a part of. Now, is it okay if I tell you just a little bit more about myself? Yes? Good. So I'm a career transition specialist. I've helped hundreds of leaders at all levels of organizations to succeed in their careers. I've helped people take their teams to the next level of excellence. I've helped people advance up the career ladder, and I've helped people move into new organizations. What I've noticed is that it's become increasingly important for people to have skills that outlive their jobs. Because quite frankly, has anyone noticed that jobs come and go? But leadership skills are forever. I happen to think that if you're going to spend the time to be the best leader you're going to be, why not leave a leadership legacy wherever you go? I started leaving leadership legacies when I was 10 years old. When I was 10 years old, I had this idea. I said to my mom, I want to have a children's fair at the library. My mom said, well, you might want to tell the library about that. So I went and I talked to the Director of Youth Services, Mrs. Seawalk. Mrs. Seawalk had these green eyes that just sparkled with curiosity. She said, Jose, that sounds like a wonderful idea, but we're not going to be able to do it. Quite honestly, we just don't have enough adults to run this thing, and we don't have the budget to buy games and prizes. So I said, wait, I have a plan. And Miss Seawalk said, you do? And my mom said, you do? And I said, I do. And then I had to think really quickly. So I said, what if I ask my 5 best friends to be on my team and we take over this thing? We play birthday games that would be the same games that we play at the children's fair. So we'll bring those, that doesn't cost any money. And I have a box full of Happy Meal toys that I've never opened because I'm too cool for them. So we can give those away as prizes. Miss Seawalk said, well, Jose, you have most of your bases covered, but we don't usually let kids run children's fairs. And I said, well, that's why most kids don't like going to the library, because it's boring. And I said, you know what, if we can make some money on this event, I got ideas for other events. And she said, I bet you do. How about this? I'll give you a room, and if you can run this thing, I'll get the backing of the library. I said, yes, I'm going to do this. And I did. The event was so successful that they started a youth leadership club, and we ran tons of events for the library, all the way up to when I was in high school. And my legacy event, my children's fair, still lives on till today, says my sister. She's in Chicagoland still. In one form or another, this event lives on. And this is not something that's just I could do or a 10-year-old kid could do. This is something anybody can do if you just have the skills. And these are skills that I've been training people on since I was 10 years old. And I'm very confident that they will work, and I'm very excited to share them with you because I believe the way I'm going to leave a legacy in this world is to train leaders in leaving their legacies throughout their careers so we can make one heck of a difference in the world. Sound good?
Yes.
Awesome. Now you may have noticed that you have a packet on your chair. I'm going to ask you to do the impossible and not be flipping through it when I'm talking. I will instruct you when you need to take notes. And this is really critical because I want everyone to practice their active listening skills. In order to be the best leader, you need to give your team the respect they deserve. And you do that by giving them your 80% attention? No. Your 95% attention? No. By giving them your 100% attention. And that starts right now. Today, I'm going to talk about 3 steps that will forever transform your leadership skills. I call these the triple Ds. I want you to say them after me. Define, decide, and do. All together now. Define, decide, and do. With your hands over your heads now. Define, decide, and do. Like you're underwater now. Define, decide, and do. Did you know that the more you participate, the more you retain? So I highly encourage you to participate and to encourage your teams to participate. The first step in this process is define what you're going to do. Then it's decide what you're going to do. Then it's do what you're going to do. As you see, there's a word that strings all these steps together, and it's do. Great leaders don't just think theoretically about what they're going to do. They take action so their teams can reach their next level as fast as possible. That's what separates mediocre leaders from phenomenal leaders. They do. I learned this the hard way. About 2 years ago, I gave a talk in my home club. And I gave a talk on leadership. My evaluator was new to the club, and he said to me, Jose, your speech could best be described as dry, too theoretical, and best suited for a room full of professors. Ouch. Oh, it gets better. Then he tells me that he didn't care about any of the theories of the 20 years of research I shared with the group, which was, I don't know, 95% of my speech. He only wanted to know what actually works in industry and how to apply it. So what did I do? Did I say, you're new to the club? No. Great leaders take great feedback from whoever it comes from. So if you have sleeves right now, I want you to roll them up because you are going to be up to your elbows in leadership theory you can directly apply. Let's talk about the first step. The first step is define. If you cannot define what a leadership legacy is, you cannot leave a leadership legacy. So what we're going to do is we are going to break this phrase up into 2 words, leadership and legacy. So first, what is leadership? My favorite definition is the one that Peter Northouse uses in his book, Leadership and Theory. And he defines leadership as a process whereby an individual influences a group to achieve a common goal. Let's break that down further. Leadership is a process. What that means is your relationship to your team is constantly changing. It's fluid, it's dynamic. And you are influencing your team, they're influencing you. At any moment, your relationship with your team is either getting stronger or it's getting weaker. So to be a great leader, it means being the best leader in every moment. I've heard leaders tell me, Jose, I was a great leader a year ago, therefore I'm a great leader now. The logic isn't there. It doesn't matter how good you used to be. You have to be a great leader in every moment. It's interactive, it's a process. Leadership is also about individuals, but not certain types of individuals. Donald McGannon put it best when he said, leadership is not position, it's action. And being action, not position, anybody can be a leader. Who can be a leader? Anybody can be a leader. So I want you to go back to your organizations and I want you to be thinking, who's the least likely leader? And give them an opportunity to be a leader in your club or in your organization, because they can. Also, leadership involves a group. That means more than one person. I've heard people say, I'm leading this, but they're not influencing anybody. They're not leading anybody. Their team, them. That means they're managing a project. They're not leading. And finally, leadership involves having a common goal. Your team should know your goals so well that they keep you on track. It shouldn't be in the middle of their term saying to the club, what's DCP? Have it as your goal to have your officers remind you where you should be with your goals. So you know what leadership is. Let's talk about legacy. What is legacy? A legacy is what you pass down to future generations of leaders. I believe that everyone leaves a legacy. The question though is it the legacy you want to leave? Are you leaving solutions or are you leaving problems? Are you leaving systems or are you leaving chaos? Are you leaving a system that sets your people up to succeed or a system that fails without you? Something to think about, right? Now what I want you to do is take out your handout and on the second page, I want you to answer this question in 2 sentences or less. What does leaving a leadership legacy mean to you? What does leaving a leadership legacy mean to you? I'm putting a minute on the clock. Go ahead and do that now. And stop. Now that you know in general what it means to leave a leadership legacy, it's time to decide on how you want to leave one. A lot of times clients of mine have said, Jose, I don't know how to make a big enough difference in my organization. What I've found, however, is that the problem is not that they don't know how to make a big enough difference. The problem is they don't know what to make a difference in. Once they figure out the what, the how is relatively easier. So today that's what I'm going to ask you to do. Figure out the hardest piece of the puzzle, the what are you making a difference in. Let's take a moment and I want to figure out who's in the room with me. So how many of you are not currently leading anything just yet? Okay? How many of you are leading at least one thing? Okay? And where are my overachievers? If you're leading more than 2 things, double raise your hand. Anybody? No? Okay. This exercise is going to be perfect for everyone, no matter where you're at with your leadership. And it's going to focus you. there's going to be 3 ground rules. 1, it's that you need to pick just one thing. No matter how many things you're working on, just pick one thing, and it has to be something that really, really matters to you. Okay, so matters, one thing that matters. 2, you have to commit to leading a group of people. So at least one person. If you're not leading somebody right now, you need to commit to go into your leadership team and asking them to chair a committee or run something. And 3, you need to be specific. The more specific you are, the more likely you are to accomplish your goal. So what we're going to do is we're going to take another minute, and I want you to answer the following questions. Besides my question of why is the plant right there? All right, the 2 questions are, 1, what is your vision and why does it matter? And 2, what do you need to have a successful team? So what is your vision, why does it matter, and what do you need to have a successful team? Go ahead and write the answers down now. And stop. And it's okay if you don't finish everything right now. I do want you to go home and look at your answers and build on them, but this is just a start, okay? Now, once you define what you're going to do, you specifically decided on what you want to do, now it's time to do what you're going to do. Exactly. So how do you make this happen? I'm going to share with you a best practice known as BLT. That stands for Best Leadership Techniques. Here are the steps in the process. The foundational step is you have to know yourself. If you don't know yourself as a leader, there's no way you can build on that or go anywhere. Then you have to know your team, you have to plan your plan, you have to raise the bar, and then you have to sustain success. Normally when I work with clients, I would customize each of these steps to their needs, but because I'm doing this in a group setting, I'm only be able to do this on a very high level to give you an idea of it. However, I'm not going to let you hang. What I decided to do is do a no-cost teleconference so that I can answer everyone's specific questions about what's getting in your way of leaving your legacy. Okay? And I'll tell you more about that at the end of this presentation. The first step is know yourself. So how do you know yourself as a leader? 1, you have to know who you are, and 2, you have to know who you want to be. If you don't know what you stand for, you're not going to have a team who stands by you. And secondly, you have to know what your biggest barrier to success is. Can anyone guess? What is your biggest barrier to success?
You.
Exactly. Have you heard this before? Exactly. It's you. Now I'm going to give a leadership opportunity to just 2 of you in this room. If you accept this leadership opportunity, I promise it will triple your leadership skills. And it will help you distinguish what's getting in your own way of success. Most people I know are walking through life like this. Jose, I don't know why nobody's promoting me. Jose, I don't know why people are leaving my team. Jose, I don't get why people just don't get me. And if only they could distinguish what this is, they'd be very powerful leaders. You'd be very powerful leaders. And this is an opportunity to distinguish what this is. So how it's going to work is I don't have time for any questions right now. I will talk to you about this opportunity is in full at the end of this meeting. But if you are interested, the first 2 people who stand up, I'm going to give you first dibs on this position. If you stand up and you're not one of the first 2 people, you're going to be on the waiting list. And if you're sitting down, quite frankly, I'm going to remember that, and it will affect if I offer you other positions.
Stand up now.
Not yet when I say go. I know you're too anxious. I have to also be realistic with you guys, though. This is not going to be easy. In this economy, you're going to have to deal with money. You're going to have to deal with membership issues. You're going to have to deal with technology issues, plant issues. You're also going to have, I guarantee you, that there's going to be some people on this team that you're going to lead. They're not going to like you. I can tell already. And they're going to disagree with you. They're going to question your authority. And you're going to have to prove yourself in every moment. It's going to be draining. And you're going to be tired. I don't know if you can do this. So if you're interested in a leadership opportunity of a lifetime where you have 100% creative freedom to do whatever you want, make the biggest difference of your life, I want you to stand up right now. You have 30 seconds. 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, count with me, 21, 20, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, come on, guys. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, we got one more standard. Give everybody a round of applause for participating. And who were my first 2 people that stood up? Raise your hand. I think it was, I saw Atul was one of them, and I think Sherry might have been my second one that I saw stand up. So the truth was, this was just an exercise, but I reward leaders who want to be the best. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a free 30-minute consultation to the 2 people who stood up. I have a certificate for both of you. And I'm going to give you this right now. And at the end, I can discuss with you more about how you want to use it.
Congratulations.
Okay, let's give them a big round of applause. Like I said, this was just an exercise. And I wasn't talking about any specific position. I was talking about all leadership positions. Consider that every leadership position, no matter what your title is an opportunity for you to leave a legacy. Every leadership position is an opportunity for you to have 100% creative freedom on making the biggest difference in your organization. And the only person that puts limits on how much you can achieve is who? Is it your manager?
Nope.
No, who is it?
You.
You, it's you. Okay? When you guys get that, like you really get that, you will be more powerful in your leadership than you've ever been. The other thing to realize is that no leadership opportunity is going to be easy. If you're waiting for the perfect opportunity or the perfect person to present you with the opportunity, you're going to be waiting a really long time. The leadership opportunity doesn't make you. You make the leadership opportunity. And one of my favorite quotes is actually from Thomas Edison. And what he said is, opportunity is missed by most people because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. So I ask you to really look at what's going to keep you from some opportunities that can make a difference of a lifetime. What I want you to do now is, in your handout, I want you to answer the following questions. One is, what did you learn about yourself from this exercise? 2, what was your biggest motivation? What made you want to stand up? Even if you were sitting down, what was tempting you? And 3, what might cause you to miss out on a leadership opportunity of a lifetime? Money, resources, the person presenting it to you. Well, and if it happened now, trust me, it will happen again for you. So go ahead and write that down. And stop. Now, I want everyone to find a partner, preferably the person sitting next to you or close by, and I want you to share with them what was your biggest takeaway so far in terms of knowing yourself or what it means to leave a legacy. Okay, so find a partner, pick one person to be A, one person to be B. Does anybody not have a partner? Okay. Anybody else? Okay, there's a person behind you raising their hand. Oh, actually she found somebody else, so I'm going to have you guys do a group of 3. Okay. Okay.
All right, tell me what you got. What's your name? Trev?
So I just share with everyone. Okay, so what did I learn about the exercise? I don't like to make commitments without knowing exactly what I'm going to do.
Now, would anybody like to share what you learned with the group? Anybody like to share? Oh, in the back. Stand up, say your name, and share.
Hi everybody, my name's Julie. What I learned is that I can become a good leader. I just need to motivate myself and believe in myself. My biggest motivation is I want to leave a legacy. I want to, teach people what I know myself and motivate others to do well. Because I feel like everybody needs a little push. It's just a matter of, how much they need. And the reason I miss out is, the fear of failure, the self-doubt, and just, needing to believe in myself.
Great. We have time for one more share. Who else is going to share? Tool.
So one thing I learned about myself by listening to you is that you said you have to be a leader all the time. Mm-hmm. And I find it overwhelming. I found it too much because I once in a while I don't want to be a leader. I want to just follow. At least that's what I want to do. I don't know if it's a good thing or bad.
Yeah. Okay. So let's give you a round of applause. And I think Atul brings up an excellent point. And I think it's something I ask everyone to consider, not just Atul. It's something that I also consider. And that is, what does it mean for you to be a leader? If it's really exhausting when you're in leadership mode, is there a way you could expand your definition of leadership so you don't feel like that? And that's just something to play with. It's not a right answer, but just think about it, okay? And this is going to tie into our next part of this exercise, which is know how you want to be. If you don't know how you want to be as a leader, you're going to default to old habits. So you need to consciously live into how you want to be as a leader. And I encourage all of you to pick just one word that if you were this word all the time, not just in your leadership opportunity, but all over your life, it would just become a habit and it would make a significant difference in who you are as a leader. Just one word, one word. And here are some words that some of my clients have come up with. Clear, confident, courageous, unstoppable, inspirational, transformational, dynamic, friendly. So I want you to pick the word that resonates with you most, and it's going to be the word you think of in the next 30 seconds. It's the perfect word. So write down what that word is. Now, once you know yourself, the next step is you need to know your team. How many of you feel like you're often the person who's doing the most work on your team? Anybody? Okay, higher hands, right? I used to feel that way all the time, and sometimes I still do. So it's really important as a leader, you learn how to ask for help. And not just because you're burnt out, but because your team really does have better ideas than you do. You just don't know that yet because you haven't given them a chance to show you their ideas. And I really want you to consider that there's always people with better ideas. The only way to get the best idea is to ask everyone. And you might have the best idea, but you don't know until you ask people, right? So how do you get to really know your team? First, you have to know what their strengths are. How can you find out what your team's strengths are? Anybody? Wait, ask them, and who said? Who said?
I said empower them.
Empower them. Great answers, great answers. And one of the best ways is to ask them, because they might have strengths that you don't even know about because you didn't allow them to demonstrate them yet. The second way to know your team is to proactively identify their areas for improvement. Once again, this involves asking them, because you don't want to find out after they fail and try to figure out why everything went wrong. It's better if you can frame it this way. Say to them, I want to make sure you're successful. What do you need from me? What do you need from our organization to take you to that next level? What training do you need? And then they're going to tell you so that you can set them up for success. You also need to know your team's motivators. What wakes somebody up in the morning to come to a 7 a.m. San Jose Toastmaster meeting, Sherry? Right?
Right.
If you don't know what that is, you're not going to be able to attract more people to come to your meetings. I'm talking to my VPM, right?
Right.
And that's not just true of Toastmasters, that's true of anything. You need to understand people's underlying motivation, and also, how do they like being rewarded? If you reward them the way they want to be rewarded, not the way you think they should be rewarded, or what's the cheapest way to reward them, but if you actually reward them the way they want to, then they will continue coming back. And I'm not saying what they want is something that's expensive. I'm just saying it's knowing what it is. Also, knowing your team means knowing the culture organization. Culture is how you think and you act. Different organizations have different cultures. Toastmaster clubs have different cultures. Some Toastmasters clubs are more formal and stiff and by the book. And there's some Toastmaster clubs that are friendly and supportive and tell jokes about the bathroom and the bar rooms, and and it's just a different culture. And so you need to tailor your leadership style to the club or the organization you're in. And then you have to understand the stage you're in of the relationship with your team. If I was going to lead a team that was just forming, it would be different than if it was a team that was growing, and it would be different than if it was a team that was thriving. So you need to know, be very conscious of what stage your team's in. And what I did is, in your takeaways, don't look at those now, I put a series of questions to first ask yourself, then ask your team, and compare answers. And you will be shocked by the assumptions that people often make that aren't true. Once you know your team, it's time to plan your plan. And how do you do that? You get input from people. Get input from people who have done it before. And this is a tip. This is your $1 million tip. Get input from people who you know will disagree with you as early as possible. Don't go and present them the plan first. Get input and build it into your plan. That's how you get your buy-in early. Then the second step is ask the 5 W's and the 1 H. Those are who, what, when, where, and how. All together now. Who, what, when, where, and how. Exactly. The third step is identify keys to success. What is your success riding on? Who is that one decision maker that if they said yes, they would influence the rest of the group? What strategic alliance do you have to make? What publicity campaign do you have to enroll everyone in to create a huge, massive buy-in? 4, anticipate obstacles, but don't just anticipate them. Find solutions to them, or at the very least, find ways to mitigate your risk as much as possible. 5, be prepared to persuade. If you don't believe in your plan, nobody is going to believe in your plan. Do not walk into the room of decision makers if you don't believe in your plan. They're going to shoot it down. The one thing I notice with a lot of people that I've coached in the past is that I believe in their plan more than they do. They don't realize how awesome their ideas are. All of you have awesome ideas. So fight for them, which leads to step 7, which is be unstoppable. Do not give up until you've exhausted every option. Okay? And I missed step 6 was you need a plan. So you need to plan out all the options you have and have a backup plan. Okay? Now we're not going to have time to go through all these steps and cater it to your specific plan. But what I do want you to do is give yourself a deadline to draft your plan by. If you cannot commit to a date to have a draft of your plan by, it directly shows how committed you are to leaving your legacy. And I mean, that's a hard thing for me to say to people, but it's true. So really, if you're committed, write down a date that come anything, you're going to have the draft of your plan done by. And then you want to write down the name of somebody you're going to show your plan to, your accountability partner, so that you're accountable for keeping your word. So take 30 seconds and write down a date. And if you want to give yourself extra time, give yourself extra time. Just make sure you keep your word. Once you know yourself, you know your team, you've planned your plan, now it's time to raise the bar. So how you raise the bar is that you can do any of the following things. 1, these are my favorite best practices. 1, establish conditions of winning. That means from the get-go, you sit down with your team and you all agree on what your team thinks it means to win. Then you set up ground rules, or what I call conditions of winning, to ensure that you win at what you want to win at. Second is encourage emergent leaders. Emergent leaders are people who do not currently have any titles. You know that your organization is really strong when you have people in your organization come up to you, they don't have a title, and they say, you know what, Mr. President, I want to run an event because I see it in my CL manual. You know what, Miss Secretary, I want to shadow you because I want to be the next secretary. That's when you know you have emergent leaders. And that's the culture you want to create. And if you don't have that yet, you want to start by figuring out who your future leaders are, going to them and offering them ways to become leaders even without that title. The third step is ask my favorite question, which is how can I make this the best yet? Ask yourself this, ask your team this. I encourage everyone to get a coach because a coach can see what you can't see for yourself and they will tell you how to hit your next level. And finally, put a cherry on top of it. What I mean by that is make people want to work with you, not just for you. Go that extra mile for your team. So let's take a minute, and I can take maybe 1 or 2 people who want to contribute. What's another way to raise the bar? What's something you've been doing that's working, that raises the bar on your club or your organization? Anybody?
Set a good example.
Set a good example. Perfect. I'll take one more. Serena.
Give rewards.
Yeah, give rewards. That's great. Let's give a round of applause to both of them. Set a good example. Now what I want you to do is on your handout, I want you to write down one practice that you will adopt. What's one thing you will do to raise the bar? So now you know yourself, you know your team, you've planned your plan, you raised the bar, it's time to sustain success. Organizations are only as strong as their leaders. And it is not good enough to just have one really strong leader. You need to train the next generation of leaders to be just as strong if you're serious about sustaining success. And the way that you do this is you create systems which work without you. Here are some ways that you could do that. First, you need to define what it means to win. If they weren't at the Raise the Bar meeting, you need to make sure they know what winning is and what it's not. You also need to monitor your progress. So the minute that the bar is dropping, there should be some check in place that flags it, and then you get yourself back on track. The third step is you need to document everything you're doing so that people aren't relying on your expertise, but they can just go to the document and figure out what to do. Fourth, you need to openly communicate. A lot of times what I see with leaders, especially strong leaders, is that they want to look like they have everything under control. And that is important. I'm not going to say that's not important. But from a team perspective, it's much more valuable for your team to learn how you overcame your mistakes than it is for your team to think that you think you're a perfectionist. It doesn't help anybody. You can have your front when you go out and you present things, but to your team, please be real. Also, you want to identify leaders as early as possible, which we talked about. And finally, you want to transition your leaders. So your goal should be to substantially lower their learning curves. It's not good enough just to give them a general training. As a person that is transitioning somebody, you need to show them how to apply that training to their specific department, their specific organization, their specific industry. Does that make sense? Yes? Awesome. So I really want everyone to be thinking about what would happen if you left your organization tomorrow. Would they be able to sustain success? And I want you to write down one thing you can do today to have your organization be the best tomorrow. What's one thing you could do today to have your organization be the best tomorrow? Take 30 seconds and write that down. So now we're nearing the end of this presentation, so I'm only going to have about 2 minutes to take questions for maybe 1 or 2 people. So does anybody have a question that you're thinking of based on what you've heard so far? Yes, go ahead.
So I really like your ideas of lowering the learning curves for the successors and documenting everything and communicating your best practices. I feel like when everyone's so busy today, they are not going to realize they need that, and they're not going to want to spend the time to read it or to be trained by you. Do you have any ideas on how do you explain to someone that you can help them, or that they may be able to benefit from what happened before?
Yes, absolutely. So, to me, what you're asking is a culture question. It's how do I get my club or my organization to buy into need to transition people and be the best. And I think what's really key is from the get-go, sitting everyone down and talking to them about what it means to win. And getting their buy-in that that's what they want to do. Sometimes people don't want to win, and then it's a question of, are these the people you want on your team? And if you haven't had that meeting yet, I guess, and they're in the position and you know you're going to get a lot of pushback, what I would say is sit down with them and talk to them about what they're doing and why it is important. Because the more people realize how significant they are, the more they want to take every opportunity they can to impress you and impress the organization. So a lot of times when people give pushback, it's because they don't feel important. It's not worth it. It's not worth my time. My position's not worth it. Go ahead.
Yeah, and how important it is for a leader to be a follower?
That's a great question. And I think before I could answer that question, I would have to be able to define what you mean by follower.
well, it's often said that for you to be able to lead, you have to be able to follow.
Mm-hmm.
So where in your presentation, where do you see that concept being relevant?
Okay, I see what you're saying. So there are two ways to look at leadership, okay? Some people look at leadership as it's, now I put on my leadership hat, I'm a leader. Now I take off my leadership hat, now I'm a follower, okay? Some people live their lives as leaders. They just always have their leadership hat on. I'm a person who always has my leadership hat on. I don't transition from leader and follower because in order to be a leader, to me, it means being able to listen. To me, it means taking other people's ideas. It means following people who have the best ideas. So I don't really distinguish the two. And to me, and this is just my personal opinion, or what I live by, is it's more empowering for me to always be a leader than to be a follower. That's what empowers me, even when I'm on a team, because if I start thinking of myself as a follower, I don't do as much. And I don't know if that's true of you guys, but I always encourage everyone on my team. I just want a team of leaders. Okay? So it is now 3 o'clock, so I just wanted to say one last thing. Is it okay if I go over just 2 minutes? Okay. I want you to know about the no-cost teleseminar that I'm offering. It's on 12/16. And I really encourage all of you to attend. I'm going to cover how to move from having your leadership legacy vision to getting your team's commitment, and I think that's where we were going with this conversation. I'm going to talk about some of the biggest challenges that leaders encounter, 10 of the biggest mistakes that leaders make, and I'm going to answer, for half of the call, any questions that you guys have specifically to your situations. This is going to be a very rich content call. I highly encourage everyone to be on it. If you're interested, go to the last page, which is your feedback form, and all you do is you put your name and your email on there, and I will send you the information, email you the information to be on the call. And if you know of other Toastmasters who could benefit, or anyone else on your leadership team that wasn't here that you would like to get familiar with this frame of thinking, because I know you go back to your teams, you have these great ideas, and they're like, where did she get all this stuff from? I wish I was on the call. I'm not thinking that way, right? So feel free to invite them. Invite them on this call. Invite the person who has the biggest pushback. You think is going to give you the biggest pushback on this call, okay? I'll do you guys a favor. And just put down how many people you think you're going to invite so I have an idea of how many people are going to be on the call and how many questions I'm going to answer, okay? And finally, if you can fill out your feedback forms, I'd really appreciate it, because I will look at everything that you write, and that's how I give the most value to people. And if anybody wants to be on my mailing list, just let me know, and I can tell you about anything upcoming that I have around leadership or career development and anything like that. All right? So let me leave you with this. All of you will leave a legacy. The question is it a legacy that you wanted? And I highly encourage you to define, do, and decide what is the legacy that's in your heart, and then go live it. Mr. Toastmaster.